you tweeted saying that every time you've spent Bitcoin, you've regretted it. And I think that's a really interesting conversation in the ecosystem right now, because a lot of people are saying we need people to spend for adoption. We need more merchants to accept it. And so what is your kind of take on all of that and the importance of spending Bitcoin versus holding, hodling it like you were talking about?
I've been in the space for 8 years. I've used a lot of the earliest products. My first wallet was Bitcoin QT wallet, which had a full node attached. Terrible user experience. I mean, I'm not an engineer, so for me to navigate this sort of stuff was crazy, especially without any GUI or interfaces that really were, built for humans. It was built for engineers. And so like seeing Bitcoin, for me, when I first met Bitcoin in 2012, I was like, I'm an Austrian School of Economics sort of guy, studied finance in undergrad. I was like, this is gold 2.0. Like, this is the holy grail. It's got a disinflationary monetary policy that can't be tampered with by humans. There's no subjectivity, no political nature that would be inserted into the monetary policy to change it. Choosing a proper rate of inflation is nearly impossible. And so, from that, really felt at my core that Bitcoin represented gold 2.0. Naturally, when companies were built in this space, VCs fundamentally don't understand what gold 2.0 means. VCs only think in code, engineers, platforms, growth. They don't think in new paradigm shifts of like, what is money? It's completely foreign to them. They don't understand economics. Like they understand operational sort of like company metrics, but they don't understand fundamental shifts in like what is money and how the origins from shells and beads to gold, even how that transition even occurred. And so when Silicon Valley saw Bitcoin and people were building products in Bitcoin, they're like, okay, how do we use it? And they're like, well, let's buy things with Bitcoin. So this huge burgeoning industry, focused on merchant adoption. So 2014, Coinbase was signing up merchants left and right. They were announcing Newegg and Microsoft and all these companies, big splashy headlines. And at the time, I was working at blockchain.com. They had acquired my first product called ZeroBlock. And so I was director of product over at Blockchain, including building out blockchain's first merchant processing app. So it was like the first mobile app that you could use to accept payments in person at different merchants. And as we saw, no one cared about spending Bitcoin for entirely intuitive reasons. It's expensive. You not only have transaction fees, but you have volatility fees. So from the moment you purchase your crypto asset, whether that be Bitcoin, Litecoin, or whatever you like, to the moment you dispose of it, you are paying a volatility fee. If your purchasing power declines, you pay a percentage volatility fee. So like, if it fluctuates 10%, you're not just paying a 10-cent transaction fee, you're paying 10% of whatever value you're moving. And in addition to that as well, you're paying bips on the exchange side. So I work at Kraken, and even if you have to be a really top tier volume sort of trader to get down to 10 bips. So you're looking at like at least round trip 20 to 50 bips, which again scales with the price of the transaction. So, and then you've got capital gains taxes, all sorts of other issues. So fundamentally, like from a product mindset, when I use product A or service A and product or service B, which one solves my problem for me? Bitcoin does not solve a problem that I had previously because I can pay for my fucking coffee with a goddamn credit card. It's real easy. Now for drugs or something illegal, it does a phenomenal job at fulfilling that purpose. It's something I couldn't previously use with my credit cards or cash. Well, actually, you could go down to your local drug dealer and use cash. So fundamentally, Bitcoin is a protocol that has a protocol market fit. It solves a problem for people that interact with the protocol, and the problem that it solves is storing wealth. And so I think Pizza Day is a good reflection as to the regret that almost everyone has when they spend their Bitcoin. Laszlo, sorry to beat up on you, Laszlo, today, but certainly the most regretful person in the space. A lot of people go, hey, you shouldn't shame people for using it for this or that. And I'm not really shaming them. I'm just highlighting the consequences of using something for novelty, because that was for novelty, rather than using something for its intended purpose, which would be to solve a problem that you actually have.
A tweet that I thought was really interesting today that Andreas put out was, how he spent 5 Bitcoin on a bag of coffee, his crappy bag of coffee once. And he's like, you'll all have your pizza day moment. You just don't realize what it is yet.
Yeah, it was a subtle regret tweet by Andreas. And I really respect Andreas a lot. I worked with him at blockchain.com. Yeah, I mean, there's not one moment where I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, that was worth $100,000. Like a hamburger at Room 77 in Berlin, or alpaca socks, or Newegg equipment. Never once have I looked back and been like, oh, dude, that was amazing. That was so cool.
There's that opportunity cost, right? Like you said, you're projecting out the potential future price and
It's an investment. Look, at this stage of every new money evolves and goes through different stages. This is the store of value stage. It will inherently not be used by merchants and consumers unless almost all of them hold it and have it and want to transact in it. So you have to have this stage of store value where everyone owns it as a speculative sort of investment or a gold 2.0. And then let's say 50% of the population has it. Then you start to transition into that stage. So I'm not saying it'll never happen. It's just this is premature. And that's where, I think that a lot of people go, well, what's wrong with having two different narratives? I've spent a bunch of time in growth roles at small crypto startups and at companies like Uber, where I've been growth product and growth marketing. And you can't go give someone two conflicting marketing messages. You can't be like, oh, by the way, an Uber is a place where you can use an Uber to be transported, and it's also a place you can live in. You'd be like, what are you talking about? It's like, what are you trying to pitch me here? And so people don't understand that the payments narrative ultimately is damaging. It led to the Bitcoin civil war with Bcash. It led to tens of billions of dollars being misallocated in VC funding. And so, ultimately, I think it's like a net drag on the space. And that's why I feel so strongly about it. It's not like I'm dogmatic just because I feel that way. I've seen 8 years of wasted time. So, I feel like an old man.
I've been in the space for almost 3, and I don't know how we're going to end up, Leah, in 5 more years. I don't know.
So you're going to get some gray streaks in the hair.